We are about to start week 8 of our first year with the Alveary. Many of you watched our video where we discussed how we were switching curriculums after 5 years with a gentle feast. If you've not seen that video, stop, go back and watch it, and then come back and watch this one. It'll make a lot more sense. Those of you that have already seen why we switched and you've been waiting on this update about how we're liking it, what we have adjusted, stay tuned.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Hi, I am Sarah Ruth with Kindletogetherness. Here on our channel, we share all things faith-filled learning, faith-filled adventures, and faith-filled homemaking. Today, I'm going to be talking about where we are with the Alveary, what we are enjoying, how we have combined things, just give you a general update about how we're liking it now that we are on week 8 with the curriculum. However, before we get started, as always, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, because if you are watching, then you like homeschooling, you want homeschool content, and that's the kind of stuff that I often share. Also, after you watch the video or while you're watching the video, I welcome you to drop a comment, ask a question, even make a suggestion for other mothers and families to see. I want this to be a dialogue. I want to be able to make use of the space where we can engage with each other. So please do that. Please make sure and like this video. And let's get started. Let's talk about how we're using the Alveary and how we're liking it. So I have had so many questions. It's kind of hard to wrap my mind about everything that I want to share in this video. I try not to make my videos longer than 20 minutes if I can. So we're going to see what we can pull together. It's not scripted. I just kind of roll with the punches, but I've gathered some things around me that maybe will help me out. So I have 3 sons. They are 11, 9, and 7. So essentially I have a Form 1 student and 2 Form 2 students. Now, the way the Alveary is set up, a lot of their stuff is by grade level. And I've already heard from many of you that that has in the past stopped you from purchasing the Alveary or made it feel very overwhelming for you to engage with, because you have, several students or many students and can't figure out how it's going to work out to combine. So for us, first of all, I'm just going to go ahead and say we are really enjoying using the Alveary. We are happy. I'm going to continue using it this year. I don't see any need to switch. There are things that we really love. There are things that I am adapting. But yeah, first I'm going to talk about some ways that we're using this curriculum that I think will answer some questions that I'm often asked. So regarding combining, one thing about the Alveary, and you can do this whether you have Syllabird or not, but this year they rolled out something new called Syllabird. It is an online kind of scheduling planner calendar that has preloaded all of the lesson plans that the Alveary has, and you can organize yourself and kind of get everything set up. And so I did purchase that upgrade. I'm very glad that I did. It has made things easier, but I'm also a paper girl, and I'm going to show you how I've chosen to do that for myself. I have this and I have these. So I'm going to share a little bit of that. But before I can get the paper side of it, because I'm using Syllabird, I go in and I have my students set up, and you can create your students any way you want. So one of the ways that I helped myself to get organized and to have things set up in a way that I could combine students easily is I created a family lesson as a student. And so all of the lessons that we do during what a lot of people call morning time, we're just calling them family lessons, are put in there. So these are the things that my boys all do together at the table. We usually do these in the morning time. And this is where I played a little bit with the lesson plans, and I used my freedom and I made the curriculum work for us instead of just checking off boxes. In our family time, I made choices about our art study where I put all my boys into one level together, even though technically they should be on different levels. So here, my kids are really loving the art. I think we chose art level 2. Not sure off the top of my head. I would have to go peek. But I chose one of the art levels that I felt like was appropriate for all of my kids. And right now they're working with clay. And so they each did this project this week, and as part of the art, they're talking to them about colors and the color wheel and about cool and warm colors. And so here's my 7-year-old's. This is my 9-year-old's work. And then lastly, here is my 11-year-old's work. And they really, really got into these. And this is a way that I combined. I could have had them all on separate levels based on their ability and their age, but I found it much easier to instruct them in this way together. The Alveary has tutorials and videos linked for things like this, which I find just is very helpful. I was talking to my husband the other day, and I'm like, I cannot teach every single subject all the way through 12th grade. Like, there have to be resources that I pull from. Even as somebody with an education background, even as somebody who was a teacher, I still don't feel equipped to teach every single subject for every single grade. So it's very helpful to have the resources that are available in the Alveary. But that's one way that I've combined, and that's part of our family lessons. We do that 1 day, 2 days a week as art. Another place that I combine my students, and they're in our family lessons, is in the handcraft area. So these are some of the handcrafts that they've been working on. These are different sculpting things that they've been doing. And so, again here, this one, I believe if I'm correct, this is set up for all of your students to do together. And it just assumes that your children at a variety of ages is going to work on these things together and just be doing it at different paces, right? Excuse me. And so I also combined my kids when it came to, I believe it's church history, so it's, I'm going to just go ahead and go into the way that I've structured. So the way that I've set things up, I just have this notebook, and it's got 5 sections. So it's essentially family lessons. It's not Monday, Tuesday. It's family lessons. Then my combined Form 2 students, so their lessons that they do together. Then my Form 2 grade 6 student. And then my youngest, because what I've found is that my middle son, who is 9, only has like one thing he does independently, so I don't need like a whole lesson plan section for him. But within the family lessons, we do our hymns and spirituals together. We do New Testament together. That's a place that I combined, an Old Testament together. I decided to combine my students there. I also combine my students in Spanish. They're doing the same Spanish. So I took the grade 4 through 6 Spanish, and my second grader is participating. So these are tweaks that I have set up to make it work for my family, where I'm not having to do 2 separate Spanish lessons. Composer study is set up for grades 2 through 12, but like I said, New Testament and Old Testament, technically my second grader has his own, but I have chosen to just combine all of my students in one family time lesson for that. Let's see, I'm just peeking through. So we are happy with the way that we set this up. I'm gonna go ahead and share with you that one place that I'm making a change and deviating a little bit from the way the Alveary has things set up is in the hour work. So they have recitation set up very differently from the way that I've previously done it. Usually in Forms 1 and even early Form 2, their poems are my kids' poems have been very lighthearted and enjoyable and things that they would really relate to. And they've really gotten into reciting them and really enjoyed it. And then we had a separate memory verse that all of my students were memorizing for an entire term. It was usually like 12 to 14 verses. And we're actually going to stick with that. I tried the way that it's presented in the Alveary, which is like pieces from Hamlet, and they kind of rotate through like scripture and poetry on various days of the week instead of working on one thing for several weeks and then moving on. And I just feel like the way that we had previously done it was really working for us, and I really like it. I like having my students memorize scripture. It's great for them to recite it, but I want it in their hearts, and so I want it as a memorization piece. And the goal of recitation is not memorization. A lot of students will memorize it because they're practicing it so often, but it's not required. And I just found that the verses chosen didn't lend themselves well to memorization. They were better for recitation. So that is a place that we're going to be deviating a little bit from the plans as they are and coming up with what has worked for us all along. But that said, there are many, many things that are working and that we're liking and we're not changing. I'm going to go ahead and show you one thing that I do to help my children. So when we come to this table in the morning, we're having breakfast. But then once my kids are finished with breakfast, I usually read something to them while they're eating or have World Watch on or whatever it is. But as soon as they finish breakfast, these are the pieces of their work that I expect them to go get from their cubbies and bring to the table. And as we go about our learning and family time, they can be working on penmanship or on copywork. They'll need the hour work packet in order to do their recitation and their folk songs and their hymns. So there's a lot of that's in there. And then we always do Spanish daily, and so they need that. So I just wanted to show you a visual cue that I have up. It's in plain sight for them. And anytime they're like, I don't know what to do, or they take their plate and then they're not sure, I can just point to this and it reminds them what they need to have at the table. I found it really helpful since there's so much that they need to have to just have it written where I don't have to get flustered telling them again and again or assuming that they know. So like I said, I have set myself up my own folder. Many of you are familiar with these. I've been using them for I think 2 or 3 years now. I set my kids up with their own planner once they can read fluently, and I can begin passing off some lessons to them. What has changed this year with the Alveary is that while using a gentle feast, I had completely handed off pretty much every subject area to my eldest son. He was doing it completely independently and then coming back to me and narrating. I would point out certain things, do a little bit of geography or map work, but wasn't consistent, and he had complete ownership over his learning, which sounds great. However, I felt like there was more. There was more that I wanted to give him, and there were pieces that I would add in sometimes when I had time, but couldn't consistently keep up with. What the Alveary has done for me is those pieces that I knew should be a part of a Charlotte Mason education. They've already set them up for me. And so it's not a matter of me having time to go look those things up. Now it's it's right at my fingertips. And when my oldest son and my middle son are ready to go do their lessons, what I actually do is after family time, I send my youngest to have a 20-minute break. He goes and brushes his teeth, he tidies his room, and then he's allowed to play for a few minutes while I spend 10 or 15 minutes getting my older 2 sons settled in their combined lessons. So there are several places that I combine them. I combine them in their world history. I combine them in geography. I chose to combine them in science. The Alveary has science set up by grade level. However, I felt like putting them in science together would be great. I have a son who loves science and I have a son who doesn't necessarily love it. And so I figured pairing them together might be helpful for both of them. And then I have them combined for U.S. history. So in these places where they are combined, I have them do that work first. And during our 15-minute little meeting, I get out my plans and it tells me, and that's what the Alveary has given me, is that I don't have to take the time. I knew that it was important to be showing my sons on the map where these things were happening for every reading and talking about the different climates and why the people were there, what the people were like in those areas, or, noticing the surrounding regions, or, here, there's a lot of fishermen in the book. Well, why? Well, if we look at the land, we can see that they live on the coast or whatnot. But I wasn't always getting to it. But the Alveary lesson plans include that map work. So what I sit down and do is I just am okay, it's Monday. You have science together today. You have geography together today. and you have U.S. history together today. And I just go over the different concepts. So like, I will ask them, what did you read last time in your science lesson? Tell me a little bit about it. And I'll go over any vocabulary that's listed. And then I'll go to their geography and I'll open up the atlas and I'll have them do the map work. We'll look at an image of a desert or whatever it is. And we'll even like maybe trace the route that Marco Polo is taking. And then they'll go read without me and come back and narrate to me. And then like in their history lesson, I will talk to them about rubber and share with them that that's what they're going to be reading about today, and then go over like the different map work and whatever. So that little meeting with them, it just takes 10 or 15 minutes tops, but I'm able to prepare them for the ideas that they're going to encounter, and it's all laid out for me. So it has taken the work that I was sometimes finding time for when I was using a Gentle Feast, because I knew it was valuable and I wanted it there. It's taken all of that off my plate and it's all just ready for me. And so I just have to make the time in our day for it, which has been easy for me to do. So my older two sons will go off and they will do their combined Form 2 work together. And they don't really need me for that. They can both read, they take turns reading. And then at some point in the day, they will come back and narrate to me. But once they do that, I work with my Form 1 student on his work, which takes us about an hour, give or take. And we use the Alveary lesson plans. I am using them as they're written pretty much for him. I think one adaptation I've made is that I'm staying in the Good and the Beautiful language arts for him. He's been unique. I used Charlotte Mason reading lessons for my other two boys and they worked great and they're both solid readers, but with my youngest, I've just not felt like the Charlotte Mason reading lessons were clicking for him, and I feel like he needed more support with phonics and direct explicit instruction. So we're using the Good and Beautiful, which isn't like my favorite curriculum ever, but it has the meat in it that I needed and the concepts and the skill review that I felt like he needed. I may even be moving to something even a little bit more Orton Gillingham, if you're familiar with that term, for him after we finish this Good and the Beautiful curriculum this year. I don't know. We'll just see. But that's the only place that I've made a shift. Like, he should be in a reading lesson, and the Alveary suggests theirs, of course. And I felt like theirs were solid Charlotte Mason reading lessons. I would have used them with my other boys, but it just wasn't a good fit for my son. So another place that I am putting my kids together is in Shakespeare. Usually I wouldn't start Shakespeare with my second grader, but he's really enjoying it. And we're going to be going to see a live production. And I figured, why not? Why not let him listen to the audiobooks or the audio theatrical performance and color the puppets and enjoy it with us. Before I wrap this up, I wanted to mention one thing. I've heard people talk about sharing books and how they have a concern, like if you combine students, but you're needing them to do things independently, like do you need to buy two books? Here's an example of something that my older two are both using. They both are using Grammar Island. I did not purchase two. I just put them on different days. So in their agendas, I just schedule it out where one of them does it on one day and then the other one does it on another day, and it's worked out great. If you are interested in how I use these agendas, I do have a video on that. I will put it in the description box. Honestly, I don't have a lot of downsides right this moment to the Alveary. I will tell you, we have an outdoor co-op that I run, and it's on Thursdays and Fridays. And we choose to go to both days, which really messes with curriculum as rigorous as a Charlotte Mason education. So that being said, one of the downsides that I've found with Syllabird and just with the way Alveary is set up in general is that it's very difficult to play with the lesson plans in Syllabird. Like, I would have to do so much work to set it up the way that I would like to, which is a 4-day school week, but not set up as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, but just set up as week 1, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. That's how I've created their planners. So I don't have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you look at the top of their planners, it's just day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And so what that looks like for us is that, like, for example, this week, we're currently on week 7, but on Monday, we will be in day 4 of week 7. So I don't really care what day of the week things are scheduled on. I just need to be able to continue on in our work. And that has worked for us for several years. That's how we have used our curriculums, and it's a great fit for our lifestyle. But there's really no way to do that in Syllabird. Like, everything is scheduled out by day of the week. And even I found that, like, if I move things, like if I wanted to, like, move everything from Thursday and Friday and shift it forward, I was hoping it would just drop into Monday and Tuesday. Nay. Nay. It does not work that way. It, like, shifts all the lessons. So if it was scheduled on a Thursday and a Friday, then it shifts the next week's Thursday and Friday lessons to the following week. And it plants the lessons you did not do on Thursday and Friday onto the following Thursday and Friday. So instead of shifting to Monday and Tuesday, it keeps everything in the correct day of the week according to their plans, but not according to the way that I do it. So I've been able to figure it out. It's fine. I can just use these and I know where I'm at. And it's not been a problem. But if I was going to make any type of adaptation, that would be a huge help to me to be able to sequence it out, not by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but by week 7, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. That would be, or even to be able to select that I want to do a 4-day school week, because we essentially do 5 days worth of work in 4 days. However, we only use 3 of the days of the week most weeks. Very confusing. Sorry. Probably doesn't matter for most of you, and that's okay. So anyway, this is longer than I intended it for it to be, but that is essentially an update. We are very happy with the Alveary right now. I feel like it's working for us. We enjoy the way the lesson plans are set up, and we're going to continue forward. If you have specific questions, please put them down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. I would love to see you here again as I continue to put out videos as I'm able. All right, until next time.